At first, I pictured everything so differently. I thought when I said, "I'm pregnant," he'd hug me. Maybe even cry. He'd put his hand on my belly and say something like, "We'll figure this out. I've got you." But he just stayed quiet. And that silence stretched into days, then weeks until it became straight-up absence. When he left, it wasn't with a fight. No yelling, no slammed doors. He just slowly pulled away, got colder, disappeared little by little. And by the time I realized it, it was just me. Me, and a tiny heartbeat growing inside me. There was no goodbye. No, I'm sorry. Just that feeling he didn't want to be there. Like my pregnancy was some kind of burden he refused to carry. I tried to make sense of it. Tried to find a reason, something I did wrong, anything to explain it. But the truth? He just chose not to stay. And that was the moment everything changed. I stopped being just a woman. I became a body, a home, a protector for someone who wasn't even born yet, but already needed me for everything. And that terrified me. It wasn't just about raising a child alone. It was feeling rejected at the exact moment I needed love the most. It was watching all my plans fall apart, and not even having the time to pick up the pieces. People see the belly and say, "What a blessing," but they have no idea what it's like to fall asleep hugging a pillow, trying not to break down, because now, you've got to be strong. For two, I didn't choose to start this way. But this is how my story began, with someone walking away, and with me silently choosing to keep going, even while I was bleeding inside. Because despite the fear, the pain, the loneliness, something bigger was growing inside me. And for that little someone, I took a deep breath and kept going. I never thought I'd grieve someone who's still alive. But that's exactly what abandonment feels like, grief with no funeral. No flowers. No goodbye. Just emptiness. He was there. I saw him smile when we talked about our future. I felt his hand in mine. I swore it was love. And then suddenly nothing. Just silence. He's out there living his life, moving on like we never even existed. And me. I'm left with the silence. The unanswered questions. And the weight of carrying what he left behind. You have no idea how many times I asked myself, what did I do wrong? Did I push too hard? Did he hate me for being pregnant? The truth is, when someone leaves like that, without a word, you start blaming yourself for everything. Even for things you never did. It's the kind of pain you don't scream out loud. You swallow it. Because now, on top of everything, you've got to look strong. For your family. For the world. For the baby growing inside you. But inside, you're in pieces. It's not just the fear of raising a child alone. It's the fear of never being loved again. The fear no one will ever see you as a woman anymore. The fear that one day, this baby will look at you and feel the absence of a father who chose not to be there. There are nights when your pillow feels harder than the floor. And mornings when just getting out of bed is a win. But even then you get up. You go to the doctor's appointments. You hold back tears during the ultrasound. You buy those tiny little baby clothes with a lump in your throat, because there's no one there to share that moment with you. And through all of it, you smile. Because there's life growing inside you. And even broken, you love. This grief, no matter how lonely it feels, is part of the transformation too. It's the pain of the woman who died when he walked away. And the birth of the woman who's rising now, stronger, more real, more whole. And if no one's told you this yet, let me be the one to say it. You weren't left because you weren't enough. You were left because he wasn't ready to handle the light you carry. And too much light? It scares people who live in the dark. Everybody sees the belly. People smile, ask if it's a boy or a girl, say you're glowing, tell you pregnancy is such a blessing. But no one asks how I'm doing. No one asks if I'm sleeping, if I'm scared, if I've been crying in the shower just so no one worries. The truth is, on the outside I carry a belly. But on the inside, I carry the whole damn world. I carry his absence in every doctor's visit. I carry the sound of silence during ultrasounds, where there should have been joy. I carry the weight of making every decision alone. The name, the birth plan, how I'll pay for everything, how I'll stretch one paycheck to cover a life. I carry the fear of not being enough. And the guilt for feeling that fear. It's strange, you know? I feel surrounded by people, yet completely alone. Because no one sees what I'm really carrying. It's not just the hormones. It's the memory of being left that wakes up and goes to sleep with me. It's the voice in my head constantly asking if I'm being strong enough. It's the effort to look okay when all I really want is to be held. There are days when I brush my teeth while crying. Days when I smile at work, but come home feeling like I've failed. And still I keep going. Not for me, but for this tiny little human who's not to blame for any of it. And then, in the middle of all the chaos, I feel a kick. Small, unexpected. Like they're saying, I'm here, Mama. And that gives me breath. Even if no one sees it. Even if no one gets it. Even if the world keeps calling me strong. When really, I'm just trying not to fall apart. Because yeah, I'm pregnant. But I'm also hurting. I'm also exhausted. And still, I keep going. With or without applause. With or without anyone watching. Because the love I carry, no one ever had to teach me that. I was born with it. At first, I'd look in the mirror and not recognize myself. My body started changing before I could even process what was happening inside. Swollen breasts, growing belly, tight clothes. And with all that, this weird feeling like I was sharing space with myself. It was like my body already knew what to do, even when I had no clue. And that's when it hit me. My body had become a home. A safe place. A cradle. A shelter for a whole new life I haven't even met yet, but who already lives in me. But loving this home? It's not always easy. Especially when you're doing it alone. Especially when the silence he left still echoes in every corner of your heart. When no one tells you the mirror is going to show you a version of yourself you might not like. But that's doing something miraculous. I looked at myself and thought, would he have stayed if I were different? Would he still think I'm beautiful like this? Brutal questions. Ones that show up real quick when you're feeling vulnerable. But little by little, I started to understand. This body he walked away from is the same body that didn't give up. The same body that cried and kept going. That hurt, but still nourished. That was tired, but never stopped. One day I felt the baby move. It was soft, like a tiny bubble popping inside me. And right then I understood. My body wasn't broken. It was creating. It was doing something way bigger than someone's absence. This body, with all the marks still to come, is home. And even when I feel completely empty inside, there's a life growing in the space where love used to be. I still have tough days with the mirror. I still compare. I still criticize myself. But when I place my hands on my belly in silence, I remember. I am a home. And I've never been this full of love before. The day I gave birth came without an emotional warning. Sure, I knew the date. I had done everything right, packed the hospital bag, double-checked my tests, went to all my appointments. But none of that prepares your soul. Because no one teaches you how to give birth alone. To walk into that room carrying not just a baby, but every single thing you were left to carry by yourself. As I lay there waiting, I felt the cold in my arm, and a lump in my throat I just couldn't swallow. There was no hand holding mine. No voice saying, it's going to be okay. Just me. Scared. Brave. Everything mixed together. The contractions hit like waves. Strong, crushing, relentless. And with every single one, something in me broke open. And it wasn't just physical. It felt like my past was being ripped away along with my body. The woman who believed she needed someone else to be strong was being left behind. And then, in the middle of the most intense pain of my life, the cry. The scream. The truest, most powerful sound I've ever heard. My son was born. And in that exact moment, something else was born in me too. A mother. A woman who went through hell and still stood tall. A strength I never even knew existed. When they placed that tiny being on my chest, I cried. I cried for everything that came before. The abandonment, the lonely nights, the moments I almost gave up. I cried because, even wounded, I made it. Not whole, but real. Present. Victorious. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Because he was here. And so was I. There was no more room to think about who left. Only space for who arrived. And in that cold hospital room, with the smell of antiseptic and harsh white lights, love was born. Not the movie kind. Not the perfect kind. But the kind that survives. The kind that chooses to stay. The love of a woman who bled, cried, and screamed, but still managed to be reborn alongside her child. His birth was also mine. Because in that moment I realized, even without him, even afraid, even broken, I did it. And no one can ever take that from me. Once everything settles, the pain, the labor, the quiet tears in the middle of the night, you look ahead and realize, this isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Yes, he left. And that hurt more than any contraction. But he only took a piece of the story. The piece that's over. What's left is what begins now. I look at my son and I don't see what I lost. I see everything I gained. I see life. I see purpose. There are still days when I cry. Days when fear creeps back in. Being a solo mom isn't about winning every single day. It's about not giving up, even when you fall. And with every fall, I rise a little more sure of who I'm becoming. Because I've learned I'm stronger than I thought. More capable than I imagined. and more worthy of love than I was ever made to believe. And if you're listening to this now, heart heavy, feeling like you were left at the worst moment of your life, I need you to know, that doesn't define you. You are not the woman who was left. You are the woman who stayed, who kept going, who chose love over fear. This is your story, and it's only just beginning. A new chapter has started, and this time you get to write it with the courage of someone who's already been reborn, with the strength of someone who chose to love, even after being left.